F1 heads to Las Vegas for round 22. And before the weekend began, Lewis Hamilton announced this helmet. Are you trying to flashback people? And he was also interviewed by Phantom. Freaking Phantom. I've been trying to get Lewis's autograph for the past 3 Singapore Grand Prix, failed miserably every time, but Phantom does it in one try. Huh, this is just my life, ain't it? And he's famous for taxing people for their food. Someone better invite me to Melbourne, I swear to God. Racing Bull's livery, spectacular. Sauber's livery, I don't really like it. Williams livery, I've seen people gassing up this livery, but in all honesty, I don't really like this. All their special liveries this year have looked so much better than this, and you can start to tell which sponsor doesn't really want to change their colors. Thursday, that's right, not Friday, Thursday. Thursday was bone dry. Friday were the exact opposite conditions. So let's talk about qualifying already. The final chicane is where everyone made their mistakes. Normally, you brake at about 125 to 100 here. Everyone was braking at about 250, even 300 when the track was extremely wet. Alex Albon said a purple sector 1 and a green middle sector was looking to make his way into Q2, and then he makes a mistake into the final corner. This ruins Lewis Hamilton's lap time, who also ruined his own lap time by running over a bollard, and he qualifies last. And Alex is knocked out too. Bortoleto is knocked out as well. And if you know me, these 3 are my favorite drivers. So, I'm not gonna watch the rest of the session. I'm joking. Obviously I'm gonna watch it. In Q1 and Q2, Lance Stroll turned into early 2000s Michael Schumacher. And then Aston Martin decided to put him on the Inters. Their pace was so good on the wets, this did not make sense at all. Whoever decided to do this, I hope you get 5 weeks in prison. No, actually, you deserve Alcatraz. San Francisco isn't that far from Vegas, right? Nico Hülkenberg was looking to make his second Q3 appearance in a row, and then Pierre Gasly, knocks him out. And it's actually very funny to me how Lance Stroll could have been the one to knock out Oscar Piastri. Anyways, it's time for Q3 when the Inters were finally being used, and this means the track was constantly drying throughout the session, so really you want to go out last. Carlos Sainz put on provisional pole for a second, Max Verstappen got him, and in the end Lando Norris was the one to put it on pole position. Would have been pole by a second if he didn't make a mistake in the final corner. Shout out 2024 Lewis Hamilton. How did Liam Lawson not get a penalty for this? That is very obvious impeding. And what happened in F1 Academy?
Dorian Pan has won the championship. She finishes in 5th place and she has taken the title.
Yes! For being part of this success. Thank you so much.
Dorian Pan secures the 2025 F1 Academy Championship. Now, can you finally get her back in sports car racing? Or at least get her an FIA F3 seat? Like, if she was doing sports car racing for the past 2 years, she's probably in a hypercar seat next year anyways. I feel really bad for Maya Vug though. Yeah, she did kind of just run into the back of Tina. She's getting the full Ferrari experience. Every single Ferrari driver is depressed this week. It was also my favorite F1 Academy driver's last F1 Academy weekend. No, stop the French national anthem. It was my favorite F1 Academy driver's last F1 Academy weekend, Leah Block. She got me interested in the junior categories again because I was interested to see how, a rally driver can do in Formula racing. And I think she did pretty good for someone who had no prior single-seater experience. So, good luck, Leah, for the rest of your career. I can't wait to see what you do next. And thanks for the signed hat. I'm also not trying to say much about this championship because I do have an F1 Academy video coming up, and it's a lot to do with a point I made earlier about Dorian Pan. But anyways, let's talk about F1. My bad, before we begin, be sure to subscribe and be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok because I'm starting to do short form content right now. And Twitter, but no one interacts with my Twitter because everyone hates me. So this race was easily overshadowed by one of the biggest post-race controversies in modern F1 history. Andy Cowell has been fired by Aston Martin. No way! Andy Cowell's been fired by Aston... Yeah, he has been fired by Aston Martin. And it's also his first season with them. Obviously, I'm joking. This obviously isn't the biggest news post-race. It was the McLaren double DSQ. But it could actually be the biggest news post-race because now Christian Horner is linked to Aston Martin. The race itself was extremely boring, but everything happening after the race is way more interesting than the race itself. Let's dive into it. Okay, I'll talk about lap 1. That was the only interesting thing that happened. Lando Norris, what were you trying to do here, mate? You overcooked it big time. I know you were trying to cover Max, but this is not the way to do it. And George Russell ends up getting past and Carlos Sainz jumps to P4. I love you, Gabriel Bortoleto. I knew you were my favorite rookie on the grid Thanks for getting revenge on Lance Stroll for Brazil, and you also helped Lewis Hamilton climb up 7 positions on the start. So I always knew you were my favorite rookie. In fact, I bought your hat. Kimi Antonelli, what a stint on those hard tires, making good use of that VSC, proving that you really could have done the entire race without boxing. So maybe use softer tire compounds next time for Las Vegas. Like, Piastri was struggling big time to get past him, goddamn. But what y'all came here for, the double DSQ. This is absolutely the worst thing that could have happened to Lando Norris, the best thing that could have happened to Oscar Piastri, and Max Verstappen feels like he's ascending to heaven right now. So both McLarens got disqualified for their plank wears, which we should have expected when we saw Oscar Piastri's car do this. Like, oh my, his ass is dragging across the floor. We also should have expected from Lando Norris after he was lifting and coasting from lap 46 to the end, because he lost about 12 seconds to Max Verstappen right there. Which means now, instead of being ahead by 42 points, Lando is only ahead by 24 points, and Max Verstappen and Piastri are level on points. And I'm pretty sure Verstappen would be ahead of Oscar on win countback. I have to go look that up. Okay, so Verstappen is 6, and both McLaren drivers have 7. 6, 7. Why do I still do this? Which, okay, so Piastri is still ahead of Max. But that also means that he can potentially drop behind Max. He's about to finish 3rd in a 2-horse race. Where have I seen this before?
That's a great turn by Costa. Rolled Alderweireld and played it in for
I hate you, Oscar. Thanks for bringing back horrible memories. I hope you don't finish on the podium for the rest of the season, which could actually happen without me wishing this upon him, because if you look at his record since Monza, he hasn't finished on the podium once. Sainz and Antonelli have more recent podiums than Oscar Piastri. That's how bad his form has been, which is crazy to think about, because if we think to Oscar's last podium, which was Monza, if you were to rate both Sainz and Antonelli, you would probably not have them as top 10 drivers on the grid. Especially for Carlos Sainz, because I remember in that same segment of the season, people were saying that Hadjar has been better than Sainz this year, which, calm down, buddy. And now these two have a more recent podium than Oscar Piastri. Kimi's last podium came in this race as well, which, yeah, great drive making those hards last. Mark and Oscar looked a bit too happy. Like, yeah, sure, this is better for their championship odds, but at the same time, your form has been so bad, it's nothing to smile about, buddy. If you watch the videos throughout the year, you know that Oscar was the one I wanted to see win the championship, but now, it's kinda like, I think he deserves to lose. Which, you need to go through heartbreaks to come back stronger, like I said in my Lando Norris hate video. Like, this is his 2011 LeBron year. I guarantee you, without the 2011 finals, LeBron wouldn't have reached the levels he is at now. So Oscar, you broke my heart this year. I hope Nicole punishes you. I hope she adopts Yuki Tsunoda instead, which, is that any better? I don't think so. Max Verstappen now finds himself within less than a race win of Lando Norris, and if you thought a title charge was unrealistic, now it's very, very realistic. But it would be extremely difficult, because if Max wins the next 3 races in a row, yes, Qatar is a sprint, and Lando Norris is second in all of those races, he would still lose by 9 points. I'm actually pretty confident for Red Bull and Abu Dhabi. I am not confident, however, for Qatar, because that is such a McLaren track with the very long corners, along with a very high tire wear. Red Bull will struggle a lot in this track. You want to know how bad the tire wear will be in Qatar? It's a mandated 2-stop, so it's 2023 all over again, and that was the year where Red Bull were slapping everyone across the field, and look how close the McLaren were to them in that race, so it's very possible that they drop a stinker this weekend. As for Lando Norris, yes, he did get disqualified and lost 18 points. I don't think he's going to be losing that much sleep over this, because all he needs to do in Qatar is outscore Max Verstappen by 2 points. Translation, as long as Lando Norris finishes ahead of Max Verstappen in Qatar, he's the world champion. So, I wouldn't lose so much sleep if I were Norris, but it is a concern. However, the fact that Verstappen is still within contention for this championship should be mentioned a lot more. I see a lot of people considering this as his best season of his career. I disagree though. 2024 for me is still the best. And yes, I do agree that if he was in that McLaren, the championship is probably sealed by now. But you can also say the same thing about Lando Norris if Zandvoort didn't happen and if he didn't get disqualified in this race. Like, he lost 36 points from both of these occasions, so if he didn't lose 36 points, he would be 60 points ahead of Max Verstappen right now. Then again, Max Verstappen lost points from Antonelli crashing into him and his moment of head loss in Barcelona. So many points can be added or removed, but it's not like that because it's racing, and things happen for a reason. I still think a McLaren driver is winning. I would prefer it to be Oscar, but I still think Lando is gonna win the championship. One thing I noticed is that every single driver I met over the course of the Singapore Grand Prix weekend has been doing a lot better since I've met them. Lance Stroll, okay, he hasn't scored a point, but his consistency has been pretty damn good. Kimi Antonelli has had 2 podiums since then. Gabriel Bortoleto scored a point in Mexico. Carlos Sainz went from last to 10th. Literally the same weekend I met him. Sprint podium in Austin, and now qualified P3 in Las Vegas. George Russell literally won the Singapore Grand Prix. Leah Block won the F1 Academy sprint race, and Ayumu Iwaza is now the Super Formula champion. So I am just saying, if any F1 teams want to invite me to 2026, the opener in Australia, I am 100% free. Just pay for my plane tickets, my hotel, and my paddock pass. Yeah, thanks. But let me know what you guys think. Never mind, don't, because A, I don't really care, and B, I'm sure like 88% of you want Max Verstappen to win. But anyways, thanks for watching and goodbye.